Ethan stood on the wide deck of the transport ship as it moved slowly toward the glowing city in the distance. He was a young soldier from Earth, sent on a mission of peace to a faraway kingdom ruled by a powerful queen. The ship shook slightly as it cut through the air, and Ethan felt the weight of his duty pressing down on him. He had been told to stay formal, to speak carefully, and to never forget that he was a guest. But in his heart, he was only a simple man, unsure why fate had brought him here. The palace came into view, tall towers rising into the sky, shining with silver light. Ethan followed the guards who met him at the gates. They led him across long marble halls filled with banners and carvings. He tried to keep his face calm, but inside he felt nervous. The queen's court was filled with nobles and commanders who watched every move he made. He kept his eyes forward and walked with steady steps. As they entered the main hall, he saw her. Princess Lily stood beside her mother, the queen, wearing a gown of deep blue that seemed to glow under the light. Her hair fell over her shoulders, and her eyes carried both strength and curiosity. Ethan did not expect her to look at him, but she did. For a brief moment their eyes met. He felt a rush of warmth, and quickly looked away. The queen spoke first, asking about his mission, his training, and the ways of Earth. Ethan answered with respect, careful not to say too much. But as he spoke, he noticed Lily watching him. She did not look with cold judgment like the others. Instead, there was a softness in her gaze, as if she wanted to know more about him beyond the armor and the duty. After the formal talks, Ethan was shown to his chambers inside the palace. The room was large and filled with strange decorations, but he felt alone in it. He walked to the balcony and looked out over the city, wondering why he had been chosen for this task. He had no noble blood, no great title, only courage and training. Perhaps that was why he was here, he thought. Perhaps the queen wanted to see what kind of man a soldier from Earth truly was. The next morning he was guided through the royal gardens as part of his visit. The gardens stretched far with tall trees, flowing water, and bright flowers. While he walked, he heard footsteps behind him. When he turned, he saw Princess Lily. She had come without guards, wearing a simple dress, her hair tied back. Ethan bowed quickly, unsure if he should speak. But she smiled and told him not to be so formal. For the first time since arriving, Ethan felt himself relax. They walked together among the trees. Lily asked about his home, his family, and the world he came from. He told her about the green fields and wide rivers of Earth, about nights filled with stars, and about the simple joys of living. She listened with interest, her eyes bright with curiosity. In return, she spoke about her life in the palace, about the duties of a princess, and the loneliness that often came with it. The more they talked, the more Ethan forgot about rank and rules. He saw not a princess, but a girl his age, full of questions and dreams. She laughed at his stories, and he found himself smiling in a way he had not since leaving home. There was something natural about being near her, something that made the heavy walls of the palace feel lighter. As the sun set, they reached a quiet part of the garden where a small fountain poured water into a stone pool. Lily sat on the edge and looked at Ethan. Her voice was gentle as she told him that most visitors spoke to her only with fear or flattery. But he was different. He was honest, and that was why she wanted to talk to him. Ethan felt his heart beat faster at her words. He did not know what to say, so he simply nodded, but the warmth in his chest grew. When night fell, the guards came searching for her, and she stood quickly. Before leaving, she looked back at Ethan, her eyes holding a promise that this was not their last meeting. Ethan stood alone by the fountain, feeling that something had begun, did not know where it would lead, but deep down, he knew his life would never be the same again. The days in the palace passed slowly for Ethan, but every moment he spent with Lily seemed to carry more weight than the rest. Their meetings in the gardens became more frequent, sometimes planned, sometimes by chance. The guards always kept their distance. The whispers spread through the halls that the princess had grown too fond of the soldier from Earth. One morning, Lily asked Ethan to walk with her through the hidden paths of the royal grounds. The air was crisp, filled with the smell of flowers and the sound of birds calling from the trees. Ethan walked beside her, still careful in his words, but each day his guard slipped little by little. She made it hard to remain distant. Her laughter was bright, her questions endless, and her presence made the palace feel less like a cage and more like a home. As they reached a quiet bridge that crossed a small stream, Lily asked Ethan what he missed most about his world. He thought for a while before answering. He spoke of the open fields where he used to run as a child, of his mother's cooking, and of nights when he lay under the stars without walls around him. Lily listened closely, her eyes soft. She told him she had never walked in open fields without guards, never slept under the sky without fear. In that moment, Ethan realized how different their lives had been, yet how close they felt. Their bond grew not through grand gestures, but through small moments. She would hand him a piece of fruit from the garden, laughing when his hands brushed hers. He would steady her when the stone paths grew slippery, holding her arm just long enough for both of them to feel the closeness. These little things, unnoticed by others, carried deep meaning for them. In the palace halls, though, things were different. The nobles watched, their eyes sharp. Many whispered that a soldier had no place beside the princess. Some even warned the queen, but Lily did not care. When she was with Ethan, she forgot about the court. She saw only him, a man who treated her not as a prize or a throne, but as a person. That was rare in her life. One afternoon, a storm rolled over the city. Rain poured against the windows, and the sound of thunder shook the palace walls. Ethan found himself waiting in a long hall, staring out at the storm. Lily appeared behind him, her dress simple, her hair damp from the rain. She had slipped away from her attendants just to see him. Together they stood by the window, watching the rain fall. She told him she had always loved storms because they made the world outside match the storm she sometimes felt inside her heart. Ethan nodded, saying that storms on Earth reminded people of their strength, that no storm lasted forever. Their eyes met, and for a long moment neither of them spoke. The silence carried more meaning than words. As days turned into weeks, their friendship became something the palace could no longer ignore. One evening during a dinner, Lily sat across from Ethan while the queen and her court discussed matters of trade and war. Ethan answered questions when spoken to, but most of the time his eyes drifted to Lily. She caught his gaze once, and though many eyes were on them, she did not look away. It was a bold act, one that left murmurs spreading across the table. The court saw it as dangerous, but for Ethan and Lily it was a quiet declaration that they did not care. Later that night, Ethan returned to his chamber. He sat on the edge of the bed, thinking of the way she had looked at him. It was not the gaze of a princess toward a soldier, but of a girl toward someone she trusted. He realized then that his feelings had grown beyond respect or duty. He wanted to protect her, not because of who she was, but because of what she meant to him. The thought both warmed and troubled him. He knew the palace walls were filled with eyes, and that their closeness could bring danger. Yet his heart no longer cared. Lily felt the same. In her own chambers, she thought of the soldier from Earth, the man who spoke to her as no one else dared. Her world had always been shaped by duty and expectation, but with Ethan she felt something different. She felt free. She wondered how long they could keep walking this dangerous path, yet she knew she would not turn away. She was no longer just a princess. She was a woman who had found something rare and real. And so, in the quiet nights of the palace, with storms outside and whispers in the halls, their bond grew stronger. Neither of them spoke of the future yet, but deep inside both knew their lives were already tied together. And no court or crown could change that truth. The night of the great celebration arrived, and the palace shone brighter than ever. Lights filled the halls, music echoed from every corner, and nobles from far lands came dressed in rich colors. Ethan walked among them, his simple uniform setting him apart. He felt the weight of many stares, some filled with judgment, others with curiosity. He kept his head low, remembering his place, but his eyes searched for one person only. Princess Lily stood beside her mother at the head of the grand hall. She wore a gown of white and silver, and the jewels in her hair caught the glow of the lights. Though she smiled politely at the guests, her eyes wandered the hall until they found Ethan. For a moment the crowd disappeared for both of them, and a quiet spark passed between them. During the feast, Ethan stayed near the side walls, speaking little. Lily sat at the royal table, trapped in endless talk of politics and trade. Yet every now and then, their eyes met across the distance. When music began and couples filled the floor to dance, Ethan felt a pull in his chest. He wanted to stand beside her, but he knew the court would never allow it. As the night grew late, the halls slowly emptied. Nobles left the floor, the music softened, and laughter faded. Ethan stepped into one of the long corridors, glad for a moment of quiet. The marble walls glowed in the light of torches, and the air carried the faint sound of music still playing in the distance. It was there, in the silence, that Lily appeared. She walked without attendants, her gown trailing behind her, her eyes fixed on him. Ethan froze, unsure if he should bow or speak, but she stopped in front of him before he could decide. Her voice was low as she said she had grown tired of being watched, tired of being treated like a figure and not a person. She wanted to be free, even for just one night. Ethan hesitated, his heart pounding. He told her it was dangerous for her to be alone with him in the halls, that people would talk. But Lily shook her head. She said she did not care about whispers, only truth. And the truth was that she wanted to be near him. Her words left Ethan with no strength to argue. Together they walked down the corridor, past the glow of torches, until they reached a quiet balcony that overlooked the city. The stars stretched wide above them, the night air cool on their skin. Lily leaned against the railing, looking out at the world beyond the palace. She spoke of her dreams of leaving the walls, of seeing life as ordinary people lived it. Ethan listened, and then he spoke of his own fears, his doubts, and his longing for a life not ruled by duty. In that moment, their walls broke. They were no longer a princess and a soldier, but two young hearts, lost in the same longing. When Lily turned to him, her eyes glistening in the starlight, Ethan felt his resolve crumble. He stepped closer, and she did not move away. The silence between them grew heavy until it was broken by the truth neither had spoken. Their lips met in a rush of feeling that neither had planned, and in that kiss lay all the words they had left unsaid. What began as a single moment stretched into the night. They held on to each other as though the world around them no longer mattered. The palace, the court, the duties waiting for them, all faded into shadows. For the first time, they felt free. Their hearts and bodies spoke in ways words never could, and the bond between them deepened beyond anything they had imagined. When dawn touched the sky, reality returned. Lily looked at Ethan with eyes full of hope and fear. She knew the risk they had taken, but she did not regret it. Ethan felt the same. He was torn between the weight of duty and the fire of love, but he knew he could not turn back now. Whatever came, he would face it. As they parted before the palace woke, Lily touched his hand and whispered that the night was theirs and no one could take it away. Ethan watched her disappear down the corridor, his heart heavy yet full. He knew their lives had changed forever. The path ahead was uncertain, but the bond they had formed was stronger than the rules of the court or the fear of scandal. Deep inside, he understood that love had claimed them, and there was no escape. Weeks passed after that night, and Ethan and Lily tried to continue their lives as if nothing had changed. But life does not stay quiet for long in a palace filled with eyes and ears. Lily began to notice changes within herself. She felt a new warmth, a new life stirring inside her. At first, she kept the feeling private, afraid of what it might mean. But soon the truth became clear, and she realized she was carrying Ethan's child. The news hit the palace like a storm. Lily was overjoyed, her heart full of excitement at the thought of a new life, but she knew the world would not see it that way. She went to her mother, the queen, and told her. The queen's face tightened, a mixture of shock and anger crossing her features. She demanded to know every detail, her voice sharp and commanding. The queen feared scandal, worried about the politics, about the eyes of the kingdom watching her daughter. Lily did not falter. She told her mother calmly that she was happy and that the child was a blessing. She explained that Ethan was honorable and strong, that he would care for her and the child. The queen's eyes softened slightly, but she remained cautious. She warned Lily that the court would not easily accept this, and that whispers and judgment would follow them both. Ethan heard the news from Lily herself. He had come to see her in the gardens, unaware of the change in her life. When Lily told him, he felt a mixture of shock and pride. He had not imagined such a consequence, yet he could not deny the joy in her eyes. He took her hands and promised to stand by her side, to protect her and their child, no matter the cost. The bond between them strengthened instantly, as fear was replaced by responsibility and love. The court soon learned of the pregnancy. Whispers spread quickly through the marble halls. Some nobles said Ethan had overstepped, that he had no right to be so close to the princess. Others quietly admired his courage and honesty. The queen faced endless questions and rumors, yet she held her head high, showing strength despite her concern. Lily spent her days in the gardens and in quiet rooms, avoiding the harshest eyes of the court. Ethan stayed close, often beside her, sharing stories and walking with her through the palace grounds. They spoke of the future, of hopes for the child, and of their dreams beyond the palace walls. Their bond grew deeper with each passing day, as they prepared themselves for the changes ahead. In private moments, Lily would laugh at how quickly life had moved, and Ethan would smile, marveling at the strength she showed. They knew the world might judge them, but in each other's presence, they found courage. The queen, seeing this, began to soften. She realized that the child was not a curse but a gift, a new life that united two worlds in a way she had never expected. Even with the palace in turmoil, Ethan and Lily found moments of peace. They walked along hidden paths, sat by fountains, and watched the sun set over the city. Each moment reminded them that love had not come by chance, but by choice. They had chosen each other, and now they would face the world together. As time passed, the palace began to accept the idea slowly. Some nobles remained skeptical, but many could not deny the happiness that emanated from Lily. The queen, though cautious, allowed Ethan to be near, observing the care he showed. She began to understand that strength and courage were not only measured by titles and wealth, but also by the heart. The news of the pregnancy became a turning point. It changed how the palace viewed Ethan, and it changed how he saw himself. He was no longer just a soldier from Earth, a guest in the palace. He was a father-to-be, a protector, and a partner to the princess. Lily, too, felt a new confidence, knowing she could face challenges because she was not alone. Together, they prepared for the days ahead, aware of the judgment and the challenges, but full of hope. Their lives had been forever altered, but their hearts were aligned. The love born in a stolen night had grown into something powerful and unstoppable, and neither of them would turn away from it. Whatever came next, they would face it together, ready for the joys and trials of a life soon to be shared with a new little life. The news of Lily's pregnancy spread quickly beyond the palace walls. Merchants, soldiers, and townspeople heard the whispers, and soon it reached the streets of the city. Some called it a scandal, a dangerous act that threatened the balance of power. Others saw it as a sign of courage and hope, proof that love could cross boundaries and defy expectation. Inside the palace, the atmosphere was tense. Advisors debated endlessly, questioning whether Ethan had the right to be near the princess, if the child would be accepted. Nobles whispered in corners, eyes filled with suspicion or admiration. The queen felt the pressure from every side. She had to balance her daughter's happiness with the safety and reputation of the kingdom. She spent long nights in her chambers, thinking about what was right and what was expected. Lily, for her part, remained strong. She was excited about the child and determined to face whatever came. She refused to hide from the world, walking through the gardens openly with Ethan by her side. Their bond was visible to all, and those who tried to judge them could not ignore the joy and courage that radiated from them. Lily's excitement gave her strength, and Ethan's presence gave her confidence. Outside the palace, not all reactions were kind. Some merchants and nobles spoke against Ethan, claiming he had brought danger to the royal family. Soldiers loyal to the court questioned his worthiness. They said he was unfit to stand beside a princess, and that he could not protect the child that would soon be born. Ethan heard the rumors, but did not falter. He knew he had to prove himself, not through words, but through action. The queen struggled with her feelings. She had always wanted the best for her daughter, and she saw the love Lily held for Ethan. She also saw the determination in Ethan's eyes, the care he showed every day. Slowly, she began to accept that the child could be a symbol of unity and strength rather than shame. It was a difficult journey, but she started to recognize courage when it stood before her. As the weeks went on, Ethan and Lily continued to meet in quiet corners of the palace, walking through hidden paths and sharing long talks about the future. They discussed what kind of life they wanted for their child and how they would face the judgment together. In these moments, the world outside seemed distant, and their worries were only shadows compared to the bond they shared. Even among the people who doubted them, some began to see the truth. Ethan's honesty and bravery could not be hidden. He helped the guards with duties, treated the servants with respect, and spoke plainly to all who questioned him. Lily's strength and excitement for the child inspired others. Slowly, murmurs of admiration began to replace whispers of scandal. The city and the palace began to understand that these two young people had done nothing wrong, only acted with courage and love. In the palace, the queen took steps to protect them. She made sure Ethan could be near Lily, overseeing him when needed, but never interfering in their private moments. She realized that her daughter's happiness mattered more than what the court thought. At times, she watched them in silence, feeling a mixture of worry and pride. Lily's excitement never wavered. She spent hours talking to Ethan about dreams for their family, naming possibilities for the child, imagining the life they would lead. Ethan listened, smiling and promising to keep her safe, no matter the challenges. Their love was no longer just a secret. It had become a force that even the palace could not ignore. As the world reacted with both fear and hope, Ethan and Lily remained steadfast. They knew there would be obstacles ahead, but they had each other. They walked openly through the palace gardens, hand in hand, showing courage and unity. Their bond was now not only personal, but a symbol to all who saw them that love, honesty, and bravery could face the hardest judgments. The people of the city, once skeptical, began to watch them with curiosity and respect. The palace, once full of whispers and doubts, slowly accepted their presence together. It was a turning point for Ethan and Lily. Their bond had survived the judgment of many and continued to grow stronger, no matter what came next. They knew they would face it together, full of hope and ready for the new life soon to enter the world. The palace was tense as the trial was announced. Many in the court wanted Ethan punished, claiming he had overstepped his place by being close to Princess Lily and fathering her child. The queen, though hesitant, agreed that a trial would test his worthiness. Ethan prepared himself, knowing this was more than a formal procedure. It was a chance to prove his honor and protect the family he had come to love. Day after day, Ethan faced challenges set by the court. He trained in the palace grounds under the watchful eyes of advisors and knights. Each task was difficult, requiring strength, skill, and courage. Some challenges tested his mind, forcing him to solve problems quickly under pressure. Others tested his body, pushing him to exhaustion. Through it all, Ethan remained focused, remembering Lily and the child growing inside her. Their faces kept him moving forward when doubt tried to creep in. Lily watched from the palace balcony as Ethan faced each trial. Her heart ached when she saw him struggle, but she also felt pride. She had known from the first moment she met him that he was strong, not just in body but in heart. Now the entire court could see it too. She moved through the palace, offering words of encouragement when she could, and showing support that could not be ignored. Her presence reminded Ethan that he was not alone. The nobles who doubted Ethan watched closely. Some sneered, waiting for him to fail, but they began to notice his determination. He did not act for glory or recognition. He acted because he had a duty to protect Lily and their child. His every movement spoke of loyalty and honor. Slowly, murmurs of respect started to spread through the court, even among those who had opposed him from the start. During the trial, Ethan faced tests that required quick thinking, bravery, and honesty. One challenge involved negotiating a dispute between two factions within the palace. Ethan listened carefully to both sides, asking questions and finding a fair solution that no one expected. His ability to remain calm and just impressed the advisors and the queen herself. Another challenge required him to rescue a servant who had been trapped during a staged accident. Ethan acted without hesitation, showing his courage and selflessness. Lily's support never wavered. She walked through the halls, making sure everyone knew she believed in Ethan. She spoke quietly with those who opposed him, reminding them that he had acted honorably and with respect. Her words carried weight, and her confidence in him began to sway the minds of even the most stubborn nobles. Even with the trials, Ethan and Lily found moments to be alone. They would meet in hidden corners of the palace, holding hands and speaking softly. Ethan would tell Lily about the challenges he faced and how her belief in him gave him strength. Lily would smile, knowing that their love had survived danger and judgment, and that it would continue to grow stronger. As the trial neared its end, the final challenge was announced. Ethan was asked to prove his loyalty and character in a public ceremony. He He stepped forward, facing the court and the people of the palace. With clear words and steady actions, he spoke of his love for Lily, his promise to protect her and their child, and his commitment to the kingdom. His honesty and courage shone through, leaving no doubt about his worthiness. The queen observed silently, her heart full. She had seen Ethan's strength, his loyalty, and the love he held for her daughter. She knew that he had passed the test not only of the court but of life itself. Slowly, she stepped forward and declared that Ethan had proven himself beyond question. The nobles and advisors fell silent, their objections quieted by the undeniable truth. Lily ran to Ethan, embracing him with relief and joy. The court watched, some still skeptical, but most could not deny the bond between them. Ethan held Lily close, feeling the weight of the past trials lift from his shoulders. He had faced judgment, danger, and doubt, and had emerged victorious. More importantly, he had earned the right to stand by the woman he loved. The palace breathed a collective sigh of relief. The trials had ended, and with them, the doubts about Ethan's place beside Lily. Their love, forged in quiet moments and tested through fire, now stood strong before all.
The queen,
seeing their unity and courage, accepted that this was the start of a new chapter for the family and the kingdom. Ethan and Lily had faced the trial together, and they were ready to face whatever came next. The sun rose over the palace, casting light on the city and its people. Ethan and Lily stood together on the balcony, watching the world wake. The trials and struggles had passed, and now a new chapter awaited them. The queen stood beside them, her face calm and proud. She had accepted their love and the child that would soon arrive. The palace felt alive with a sense of hope, and the people sensed the change as well. Lily's excitement had not faded. She spoke of the future, of the child they would raise, and of the life they would build together. Ethan listened, smiling and holding her hand, promising to protect her and the child at all costs. He had learned that courage was not only in facing enemies, but in standing by the people you loved when the world questioned you. The court had slowly adapted. Many who had doubted Ethan now acknowledged his strength and honor. His bravery and loyalty had won over hearts. And the nobles who had opposed him either accepted him or learned to keep their distance. The queen's approval made it clear that Ethan was no longer just a soldier. He was a partner to the princess, a father-to-be, and a protector of the kingdom. Lily and Ethan spent their days preparing for the new life. They chose rooms, selected the best care, and planned small celebrations. Every decision was filled with joy and anticipation. Lily laughed often, and Ethan's quiet smiles reflected his happiness. Together, they walked through the palace gardens, sharing stories and imagining the child's future. Each step they took felt like a promise to face life together, no matter the challenges ahead. Outside the palace, the city watched with curiosity and respect. The people had seen the courage of the young soldier and the strength of the princess. They spoke of the child as a symbol of unity, hope, and love. The streets were filled with whispers of admiration, and slowly, the tension that had once gripped the city began to fade. The world around them seemed to welcome the new family with open arms. In quiet moments, Ethan and Lily would sit by the fountain in the gardens. They spoke softly about their dreams, fears, and hopes. Ethan promised to protect Lily, not just as a soldier but as a partner, and Lily promised to stand beside him, sharing every moment. Their bond, forged in trials and tested by judgment, had become unbreakable. The queen often observed them from afar. She had once feared scandal and political unrest, but she now saw that love, courage, and honesty could conquer all. The child that was to come would carry not only the legacy of the royal family, but also the story of a soldier from Earth who had proven that the heart could shape destiny. As the days passed, preparations for the arrival of the child filled the palace with energy. Servants worked diligently, rooms were readied, and the gardens were decorated with flowers. Ethan and Lily's joy was contagious, spreading to those around them. Even the skeptics could not deny the happiness that radiated from the couple. The night before the expected arrival, Ethan and Lily stood on the balcony, holding hands and watching the stars. They spoke of the life they hoped to share with their child, of the lessons they would teach, and the love they would give. Lily rested her head on Ethan's shoulder, and he felt the strength and warmth of their bond. They had faced judgment, fear, and danger, yet they stood together, stronger than ever. As the first light of morning touched the city, Ethan and Lily knew that the future was bright. The trials, the whispers, and the doubts were behind them. They had each other, and soon they would have a child to share their love with. The palace felt alive with hope, and the people looked on with respect and admiration. In that moment, Ethan realized that life had brought him here for a reason. He had not planned the path, but he had found love, family, and purpose. Lily looked at him with eyes full of excitement and trust, and he knew that together they could face anything. The new dawn had arrived, and with it, the promise of a life filled with courage, love, and joy for the family they were about to become.